Okay, well, welcome everyone. Just a reminder to silence your phones before we start. We had one student who couldn't make it, so we're going to skip on to our third after our first people. And with that, we're just going to move straight into it. So could I have Gigi Powelson and AJ Saiz come up and present their project?
Hi, so we're here with Montezuma Land Conservancy, and we'll be presenting on a water research project that we've been conducting for a little while, as well as how resiliency and efficiency when it comes to agriculture in Southwest Colorado relates to what we're here today to talk about. So a bit of an introduction. I'm Gigi Powelson. I am one of the water education interns with Montezuma Land Conservancy. I go to the fort and I'm a junior here. Right now I'm studying environmental science, and prior to this opportunity, I was an intern with the Forest Service in Pagosa. So it's kind of cool to see both sides of the spectrum here with the interning gigs.
All right, well, hi, my name is AJ, and I'm a junior in high school right now. I go to Southwest Open School in Cortez, and I partake. I was in the Montezuma Land Conservancy's agriculture immersion program, and then I was in the outdoor leadership that was sponsored through Telluride Academy, and then that's about me. Changing lives through the Land Conservancy by connecting people to places forever. Montezuma Land Conservancy is a place that we help people. So we help farmers we help farmers save land, and we put a conservation easement on it, and that's where no one else can touch it, and we can do whatever we need to it. And then we help ranchers and farmers why we support farmers and ranchers, and we build up the community by the research we do, and we get the youth engaged by we host field trips out at the farm, and we could take them out to do hands-on learning out on the farm.
So like AJ said, we are working on Fosses Farm, which is a conservation easement managed by Montezuma Land Conservancy in Colorado, or in Lewis, Colorado. It's about 83 acres of irrigated pastures, and it's also used for some grazing in the area. And the growing season is about 132 days a year. And in this, at this farm, we kind of work on water research innovation, which includes just kind of seeing what kind of irrigation techniques are the most efficient and use less water than the other ones. Yeah, and then we also try to bring some youth into it, like AJ's school, where they can come and learn a little bit about what we are doing at the farm and kind of how water and the lack of it affects everybody, especially in this region. So as probably a lot of people know, we've been in a super long drought since 2000 to today. And part of the reason why it is hitting so hard in this area is because 80% of the Dolores River is diverted to the San Juan River Basin in the Montezuma Valley, meaning that at the end of the stretch of this river, there's a lot less water to go around to support riparian ecosystems and the communities that kind of fall down there. And 75% of this water is used for agriculture, which is why this area of study is so important, since if we figure out how we can cut back on how much water we need to support our food systems, we can use more of it to save or just for the other 5% of municipal and industrial uses. And as climate change marches on, we're going to see that there is a lot less water available in the springtime with all the snow runoff and everything, and it'll just be less dependable in general. So that's why studies regarding water are pretty important to us.
Innovative Agricultural Management and Colorado's Next Generation Water Leaders. So what this project is, it's like a farm-based project where we can go out and it's like a test control project that we have going at the Montezuma Land Conservancy farm out in Lewis. And the flow meter is something that it controls, it doesn't control, but it shows us how much water is flowing through the pipes that we have going out and that waters our fields. And then we have the soil moisture probes that go down in like 12 to 24 inches, and that we can see how far the water's going down and like soaking into the ground, and just like how far the water's going down in general, so we can see where it's getting cut off. The whole project is funded by the Colorado Water Conservation Board and in partnership with Colorado State University. So we have people from the university come out and help us do that, take the soil samples, and it's really interesting how this the whole project works. It's really goes really deep.
All right, so this graph here, it's kind of just identifying the first year of this project, which is in 2020. This little arrow that you can see here, it's identifying the sort of ideal sweet spot regarding soil moisture when just, I guess, trying to grow whatever forage we have in the field. And it shows that at 0.4 and 0.3 that we've really been just overwatering in that certain time. So we really don't actually need as much, and that's the main shebang, if you will, of our study, is just that we want to see, I guess, the cusp at which we can cut off water so we can plan for when we have less water in the future to irrigate our fields.
As Gigi was just saying, that this is like our initial findings of that whole project that we have. So our forage production here on the left-hand side is showing we have a control field and a test field. And after applying 44% less irrigation water to the test field, we have still observed that 16%, we still have our like growth and not as much decrease. And on our right side here, irrigation water applied in last year, our control field was up 8 yeah, on our right side here, we could see the decrease in acreage and water and the 4.5 acre feet.
All right, so in the coming years, I guess our plan at Fosses Farm is to continue this sort of soil moisture and capacity research that we've been doing, so we can kind of fine tune the irrigation techniques used in this area, as well as continue to collect forage and do line transects to identify what sort of plants are doing best in the sort of environment that we're creating for them, as well as fully install the flow meter to really accurately track how much water is being put into the fields. Continue to involve more youth and just citizens in general in this sort of science that we're doing with like an area that a lot of people are involved in, which is farming. And continue to share our findings. Recently, we had a field day that we got to have lots of people from the community, from Durango and all over, to partake in, and we're planning on having another one soon in May. And I guess overall, just to continue to improve our understanding of irrigation and what kind of techniques and things like that are best given the situation that we are in regarding water. And yeah, just help everybody save a little bit and understand what we can do to help fix our problem and move forward and just be more efficient. Do we have any questions or anything like that for us? Okay, yes?
Yeah, so if I understand correctly, you decreased watering by 44%, and you measured a 16% reduction in crop production.
Yeah, so we have a control and we have a test field, and the control is just the normal amount of waterings. We did decrease it by like 50%, like we cut it in half, but the amount of water being used comparatively was 44%. And then we only saw 16% when you think you would see, maybe around 44 as well. So that just kind of helps to support that, maybe we are using way too much water, or we're just using techniques that are not efficient at all, such as like flood irrigating and things like that.
So how did you measure production?
The production. So the production, we use these hoops to kind of throw out. Yeah, forage clippings. So AJ and his, some of the students at his school, they'd throw them out and clip everything, and you'd weigh them out, right, to see how much there is. And then we also did something called line transects, which is what I took part in, like a pretty big project with the Forest Service this summer. So I kind of got to help the kids with that. But what we did is we dropped a pin down every 5 feet, and we'd identify like how much and what kinds of like plant life there is there, and it varied pretty greatly depending on the field that we were looking at. So yeah, that's kind of what we were going off of. And also just visually looking at it, one looks like a lot better than the other and has more stuff going on. Yeah.
Is Fosses Farm where you did most of your research at? Or did
Yeah, Fosses Farm is like pretty much the main place that we did our research at. It was like gifted to the Land Conservancy by some local people just for education purposes. And we had all these fields and things, so we did that. And I'm sure in the future, they're gonna kind of maybe expand the scope, or at least at Fosses, maybe create some other places that they can be doing some research. So yeah.
One more question. AJ, I'm curious how, as a high school student, how did you get involved in this? Why did you sign up?
So how I got involved with this whole thing was just, I was taking field trips out to the Fosses Farm, like out to the Montezuma Land Conservancy, of course. And I took an ag immersion program. So I worked with Jay and my garden teacher really closely over the summer. So I was just doing work at the Montezuma Land Conservancy a lot. And then I just came across and just stumbled up working with him more. So, and then we just make a great team. So I kind of just fell into it. So, yeah.
First the field trips and then the summer program, and then you kind of like it.
Yeah. It kind of just rolled all together, and now I'm here.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for that great presentation from Gigi and AJ, and we're going to set up for our next presentation. Let's get Illyria Brunner up here.
I just saw a single slide. Do you have a presentation for that? Yes, I'll get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That takes a few seconds. Is that in one area?
Sure. All right, well, we've got a presentation on how natural disasters affect local businesses.
Hi, and thanks everybody for being here. My name is Hilaria, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how businesses are impacted by local disasters and why this is so important to be aware of in our area. So before we get into it, I want to give you guys a little bit of background information. The average per capita income for a Durango citizen is $41,509 a year. The average income for a medium-sized household is $66,160 a year. These are not very high, and so we rely a lot on the revenue we receive from our tourists during tourist season to bolster this in our economy. When we see natural disaster hit our area, whether it is extreme fire or extreme drought, our usually last thought is our local business owners. When disaster hits, our first thoughts are prepping mode. We think about if we have enough supplies to last through this disaster. We hit up mainstream stores like Walmarts or city markets or Home Depots instead of taking the time to look at if any local business in our area could supply the same thing that we need at a same price. But while I understand that there is the immediate thought of hitting up a mainstream store, they do not rely on the people and the tourists that we rely on to keep the revenue going. Mainstream stores like Walmart and City Market can rely on their other branches to bring in the revenue they need. Our local business owners cannot do that. During the 416 fire in 2018, having to close the train, one of our biggest tourist attractions, lost our economy $33 million. And it got worse due to people going into prep mode and supplying their mainstream Walmarts and City Markets instead of supporting their local business owners. So next time disaster hits, I implore people to think about their local business owners. How can we support them through this hard time while they support us? Think about if you can find the supplies you need from them, go to them instead. Thank you.
Any questions? What was medium-sized household?
A medium-sized household is your average family household, so usually it's around 3 to 4 people. Mhm.
After the 416 fire, were you impacted, what motivated this fire?
Yeah, during the 416 fire, I was in Bayfield, and we definitely saw a pretty big impact there, especially with our local farmers. Them having to go through that and a lot of their supplies being taken away required a lot of places to close over the course of the fire. So we had a lot of local businesses that brought a whole bunch of charm to our area and supported so many families closed during that time. And that was really hard on everybody.
And Bayfield is on the,
Mhm.
so not on the Animas River, so the river was affected, but was it the lack of tools? Yeah, why would people in Bayfield impacted by versus?
I think Bayfield it's a huge farming district, right? And so during like tourism season, we have farmers markets and we have ranch tours and other things open. And so the extra revenue, farmers rely on people coming into state and buying their supplies and their product to help make that extra revenue so they can do it again next year, was just taken away.
Discover any direct impacts from the fire or some of the businesses that you talked about?
So a big impact of the 416 fire was we had a skyrocketing cancellation of tourists coming to visit. And some of the businesses that I ended up talking to, they noticed that, and I think a lot of people noticed that due to the lack of people coming to visit Colorado to get that Colorado experience, and so many different businesses shutting down, that they saw a significant drop in their revenue. And there's just like a chain reaction. So businesses being impacted one after another that also help support each other, that supply each other, were being shut down. And so it just got worse because there was no one there to supply them with what they needed. Mhm.
What businesses were the most affected by the fire and was Durango in summary? That fire, like tourist.com, fire?
Yeah, so due to the 416 fire caused by the Durango train, that got closed down over that time period, and that caused Durango economy to lose about $33 million worth of revenue. And it also lost a lot of jobs for people because a lot of people rely on the train for jobs. So that had a huge impact on the economy. As well as inns and hotels local were majorly impacted because they were fully booked out before the fire ready for tourist season. And then they had numerous amounts of cancellation and they had all this stuff that they had prepped for when people came, and then it got all put to waste and they lost a lot of money. And a lot of local inns have actually had to close during that time, and some were able to reopen later on. Smoke, we had a high smoke toxicity level during the 416 fire. It got so bad in some areas and different parts of time, you had to wear ventilation masks outside to be able to deal with those smoke toxicity. That was a huge driving factor.